stop it.
That's what
We
rules.
should. You can bathe, but don't play around.
Right. You can, he wants us to do it properly. He wants us to go, but he wants us to bathe respectfully.
Devotion.
Yeah.
Just small dip and then come out.
Yeah, you've seen the movies of Prabhupada going in the Jamuna? Yeah.
Yeah.
The film where Prabhupada, he was actually not feeling well, and he was encouraging the devotees to go in. So they're going in and they're having fun in the Jamuna. And then Prabhupada sees them, and he decides, I want to go in. So he takes his sweater off and he gets down to his gumshoe. And the way Prabhupada went in was he just held his nose and went down very respectfully, and then came up and then started rubbing his body with the cold water. So it's not, the question isn't really should we or shouldn't we, it's how we bathe. It's how we do it. Yeah. So, but Prabhupada in that case, it was a letter. He said, so no more, no more going in. But he just said that temporarily, just to scold him, right? Like if a teacher is trying to teach and then there's some kid in the room that's just cutting up and making a disturbance, and then the teacher might say, okay, stand in the corner and don't say anything. He doesn't really want the child to do that, but the child's so disturbing, he just has to be stopped. So that's what Prabhupada did. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's not to be imitated, it's just to be respected, followed, and luckily that's what I did when I went in '87. I didn't even know about the other misuse of his advice at the time, but then I heard about it later. Because it was a letter. And in those days, the letters weren't necessarily known to all of us. You know. Now we have the benefit, we have access at the push of a button to a letter. Yeah. So, okay, the glories of Radha Kund. Okay, so now we're at the review time, and there's more coming. So in this lesson, we looked at, raise your hand if you know the answer. Oh no, this is just the summary, right? Okay, you want to read?
The hierarchy of spiritual people and places.
So are we over the word hierarchy? What does hierarchy mean?
Levels.
Yeah, there's higher and lower. And we don't like to hear that, right? In egalitarian America, everybody's the same, man, But that's true in a sense. There is a sameness, there is a oneness, but there's also difference. Even in the spiritual platform, there's difference, there's variety. There's higher and lower. It's like I told you, when we saw Srimati Radharani's picture, or I wasn't there in the beginning, but when Prabhupada first started talking about Srimati Radharani, the devotee said, who's that? Oh, Srimati Radharani, she's the best devotee. So simple. She's the best devotee. That means she's the highest. But nobody envies her because she's pleasing Krishna the most. Why, if I say I want to love Krishna, I should be happy for Krishna and happy for her. But we immediately become envious when we hear that there's some higher, right? And we also looked at
why the gopis are considered the most exalted of all the devotees, and why Srimati Radharani is the most dear to the Lord.
So why are the gopis the most exalted? What's their rasa?
Unconditional love.
Yeah, conjugal specifically. Yeah. The first, was it verse 4 of CC? You have a device? Go to Adi Lila, text 4, or 3 maybe. Anarpita Jaring Jirat.
Chapter 1?
Yeah. Huh?
Of the first?
Yeah,
section.
Adi Lila.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1, text, I think it's 3. It starts Anarpita.
It's chapter 1, bro?
Adi Lila, chapter 1, text 3 or 4. I think it's 3. No, actually it's 4. Anarpita.
Yeah.
So you want to read the English?
Yeah, sure.
You want
This is a blessing from Kaviraj Goswami to the reader.
May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love.
No one ever heard of that. started with Madhavendra Puri, Ishwar Puri, and then Mahaprabhu broke open the storehouse. He's distributing without discrimination who is fit or unfit. Interestingly, at the time, just after the time of Mahaprabhu in the West, there was also 2 Catholic saints. Of course, they were persecuted at the time. That's Kali Yuga, right? First they persecute you, and then later on
Saint.
they can make you a saint. Like Joan of Arc, burned her at the stake, made her a saint. It was Saint Teresa of Avila and Saint John of the Cross. You've heard of these people? Very, very, like if you mention, like I once mentioned to a nun, Saint Teresa of Avila, and she said, "Oh, very high, I cannot fathom." Because you know what they were? They were friends too, spiritual friends. And they were both persecuted. But you know why they were friends? Because they both had intimations. They had, God was starting to reveal to them that you could have God, the Lord, as your lover. As your lover, in a pure spiritual way. And so, and this is just after Mahaprabhu's time. In Europe, it was like some kind of reflection of what was going on in India. And the order of nuns that Avila, Saint Teresa of Avila started was the Carmelites. And to this day, I don't know if it's just the Carmelites, but when you take vows to be a nun, you're becoming the bride of Christ.
And I think that there was an incident when there was some debate between, or a Christian priest had said something.
Oh, that Krishna has 16,000.
Yeah, why?
Oh.
Something about Krishna and the fact that he has 16,000 wives, and so how can you preach, such thing? And I believe it was in ISKCON.
Yeah, they came back and said,
had given that as an exact example.
They went to court actually.
Yeah, they did.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, the devotee replied that about the
As-
bride of Christ.
Yeah.
Ah, sweet. Who was that?
So this nun
It was in
actually,
Europe.
It
so
was
this-
another.
it was a nun actually in Russia, Prabhu.
Yeah, it was another.
So
Uh-huh.
she basically put up a case like, no, how can Krishna,
yeah.
like, Krishna is evil or something.
Yeah, you should be
And-
praising.
And then the devotee, yes, he should not be
Right,
prayed.
people replied though.
Yes, and then she basically, the devotees basically, asked her like, so what was your, like when you became a nun,
When you
what-
took the vow.
you took some vow, right?
Hmm.
What was that? And she won't say that. So then they had to tell before the judge, that now we are dedicating our lives to
Good.
Jesus,
To
and we
see.
are like,
But they're married.
married.
Yeah,
They're married.
the bride of Christ.
Yeah.
And the court dismissed the case.
Good. Yeah. So, yes, there. The only reason we have conjugal relationships here is because it comes from Krishna. Janmad yasya yataha. Only here usually it ends very often it ends unfortunately. Or even if it's nice, the whole life, it ends. Right? I remember growing up, my best friend came from a family of 5 kids, and the mother and father were so attached to each other. Dottie and Bernie Ostendorf from Duluth, Minnesota. They moved to Stanford. And then after the kids had grown up and moved away, then in short order, Dottie died, Dottie died. And then Barney couldn't take it. His whole sense of being just left him when Dottie, so he died shortly after that. So this is a reflection of what's going on in the spiritual world, separation and all this. But in the material world, it's just all mixed up with pain, and very often nowadays divorce and lawsuits and so many crazy. Yeah, but the perfection is in Krishna and the gopis. So, okay. And then we looked at the glories of Radha. Okay, let's look at some concluding quote. This is about seeing. You see, on seeing Vrindavan and on seeing God. So on seeing Vrindavan, this is a quote from Prabhupada. He's quoted in his biography. Who wants to read? Want to read?
On seeing Vrindavan. Vrindavan Dhamma is worshipable.
Worship.
Worshipable.
Don't commit an offense here. Take it as Chintamanitama Krishna. Narottama Dasa Thakura says to see Vrindavan is not possible with Visaya. So we should take the shelter of
You know what this
Gauranitai.
Vishaya is not possible to see with Vishaya. So what's Vishaya?
Material.
The eye of sense gratification, trying to enjoy it for yourself. Okay.
So we should take the shelter of Gauranitai, become cleansed of eating, sleeping and mating. Then you will see Vrindavan.
Yeah, when we've given up our own desires, bodily desires. And Narottam, the song is Gauranga Balite Habe. Yeah, so it's really sweet. Then I'll see Vrindavan, you know, when I've given up sense desire. Okay, and the next one is on seeing Krishna. This is from Prabhupada's Guru. It's Prabhupada's Guru's translation of Brahma Samhita 538 and a little comment, excerpt from the purport. So, Vivendra's not here? Okay. Prabhu, do you want to read?
Sure. I worship Govinda, the pivotal Lord who is Shyamasundara Krishna himself with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eye of devotion, tinged with the
Salve.
salve of
It's
love.
pronounced salve. Yeah, salve of love. The ointment of love. And then the comment?
The eye of devotion is nothing but the eye of pure, unalloyed, spiritual self of the Jiva. The form of Krishna is visible to the eye in proportion to its purification by the practice of devotion.
There's a very early recording of Prabhupada saying to some listeners, I think it's on the Bowery, because before Prabhupada even got his place in 26 Second Avenue, he was living in this stinking flop house in the Bowery, because he didn't have to pay any money. Somebody invited him to stay. And then you hear on the recording Prabhupada saying, people ask me, can you see God? Can you show me God? So I tell them, yes. Human being is meant to see God. This is why we're in the human form now. So how do I do it? And then Prabhupada said, so there's only one qualification. Unalloyed love, that's all. And then he starts to sing this verse. Premanjanachurita bhakti vilochanena santat sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yang shama sundaram achintya guna surupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Then Prabhupada repeats, unalloyed love, that's all. So when you love someone, then you just overlook any shortcoming or so-called fault or whatever, and you just see the person with the eyes of love. It's like when I was at 15, there had been a president in America called Dwight D. Eisenhower, President Eisenhower, and he was the general who led the charge on D-Day, who went into France to break the Nazi hold on continental Europe. So in '62, Dwight Eisenhower had left, he had been president, and he was really old, and the whole country was just on pins and needles wondering how Ike is doing. We like Ike. He was a very kind of likable guy. So everybody was so anxious about his health, he was in the hospital, that the TV stations, this was on ABC, CBS, and NBC, they had a little thing running, it's like a running commentary on his health and his temperature. You know, why? Because everybody had love for Ike, so they just wanted to see these details. I mean, why would it would be kind of tedious and boring, right, if you just were looking at somebody's temperature. But because of love, we were interested. Oh, the temperature went up, the temperature went down. Yeah. So it depends on the relationship with the person.
They really like, my parents, they loved Ike. I can remember as a little kid, I was in 8th grade in '62. And but even before that, for his campaign, my mother actually penned a slogan, sent it in, and they used it.
That was her
I-
slogan.
No, that wasn't, she came up with, I like Ike, Ike likes me, we work together for liberty. And they used it in his campaign, yeah.
Yeah. So It sounds silly, but it's, well, love, makes us do silly things. Okay, so what else? I think we're coming to Srila Prabhupada, meditating on all this, yes. There's another beautiful shot Bhargava Prabhu took in Bhaktivinoda Manor, and this is such a nice picture. Prabhupada is going
Are
deeper.
those effects there, or is that
Deeper
really, is that radiation really coming from?
No, that's the leaves on the trees in back of them.
Yeah,
But
but
it's
like
funny, on
the
this,
glow feels like.
you only see this on the screen. You don't see it, I don't see it on my, yeah, I'm looking at the laptop. So,
Maybe
see, you see the real picture there. Can you see it? Sort of from the distance. It's not like.
because it's split actually, the pixels actually, it's tiny. It
Oh.
will be a smaller picture.
Oh, okay.
It will be a smaller
The
picture.
IT man is telling, is this right? The resolution is displayed.
It's still working.
Gotcha. So, yeah, Prabhupada is deep within there. Deep within. Okay, so let me see, I think I missed a question. Yeah. Oh, we already got it. Okay. All right. That's all I have. That's the highest love. That's the last lesson. And of course, we don't prematurely all trot off to Radhakund and leave our families and leave our duties. Because it's the highest place, I want to die here, right? No. There was a case actually of a devotee who thought he was going to pass away. Remember Udalami or Udalami?
I don't remember that.
He is a devotee in Chicago, and then he thought he had a heart condition, and the doctors told him he only had 6 months to live. So Prabhupada said, all right, you will be the first in our ISKCON to take Babaji. What is that, Srila Prabhupada? Babaji means you just go to the Holy Land to pass out your days and you just chant the holy name. That's all you do. So, I don't know how to say, Odalami, something like that. He went actually in this case to Mayapur. And he took seriously what Prabhupada said, so he just sat down by the Ganges and he just chanted. But then his heart started to get better. Plus he started to get restless. He couldn't just chant all day because he didn't have a taste like the Paramahamsas do. And he left. And he left ISKCON. No one ever saw him again. Yeah, so you can't do that prematurely. You know what happened? He did. He went to Prabhupada and he said, Prabhupada, I'm getting better, so can I go preach? And Prabhupada said, I gave you Babaji. This is what you said you wanted. So, you can do what you want, but this is my order for you. So he was premature, that's the point. So we can't imitate orders of life. These things come as we mature, internally, naturally. I don't know whatever became of him. Okay, so
The book has the picture of Robinson
yes,
in the back.
that's the original. That's the first edition, I believe. And the back of this, yeah, just a
Yeah.
little.
So
But
it's
that's the
really
first. Yeah, it's really nice.
beside Radha Kund, we have the Sham Kund,
Shamkund.
Krishna's Kund.
Yes, Krishna's Kund. And then there's a little connecting pipe, something like that. But Radhakund is even more dear to Krishna because it's Radharani's place. So there's a lot of pastimes. Now the Kali Yuga covering of, what's the Kali Yuga covering of Radhakund? If you go to Radhakund today, if we were just about to Radhakund right now, as we approached, what would we see? Who would be, I'll give you a hint, who would we be besieged by at Radhakund?
Pandas.
Pandas, and what would they want?
Money.
Money, for what?
Puja and all. So,
Yes, they would say, oh Prabhu, this is Radhakund, and you let me do puja, and I will bless you, and you will get your siddha deha, you will be with Radha or something. This is the covering, and it's so obnoxious, actually. It's you've been besieged by them? I mean, if you go to Radhakund, practically that, you can't avoid it. It's like the monkeys, So, you just have to know.
And if you don't involve them, then they start curse him also.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
They get really angry.
yeah, they're very, yeah. Does anybody have any questions or anything to add or contribute to the
So
lesson?
Prabhu, like maybe like the appearance of Radha Kund is connected with Bahulashtami because Bahula, no, like that because like Krishna had killed this demon who came as a bull or something.
Oh, it's connected with the Vishnasura?
No, he came as a bull and then Radha, like no gopis, like they complained that Krishna, you have killed a cow.
Yeah,
So
you're
you should-
sinful,
You should atone for the.
right. So what did Krishna do?
So Krishna basically like
So he created
He-
the Shamkun. He
Yeah.
called all the
He
rivers.
put his feet in the
Oh,
ground.
the flute, wasn't it flute? Foot, that's right.
Yeah, I think it was foot, yeah.
Then maybe he was digging with his flute too or something.
and then
I think he stuck his foot really hard
Uh-huh.
and then
The bond
the
was
hole
formed.
came.
yes, oh,
That's what.
and then he called all the sacred rivers in that kund.
Right, right.
And that is for Shamakund.
Yeah, yeah. The
Shamkun.
first Shamkun.
And then Krishna
And then-
said, now you have sided with the demon. Now you also are contaminated.
Yeah. And then the gopis started digging with their bangles.
Yeah. And they started getting water from the Ganga.
Shamaka. Oh, the Manasi.
But then Krishna saw that gopis were becoming exhausted, so he requested all the rivers to request Srimati Radharani to.
Help
So
out.
yeah, and she said yes. So they all.
Who can imagine? Okay, that's all the lessons there are. It's kind of early, but any more questions? The highest level.
Then both have an equal level, Radhakund and Radharani.
Well, even more.
Dear to Krishna, who is
Most,
more?
most dear. It said, what does it say in that verse? Yeah. Oh, that's the Rupa Goswami's balancing it. Yeah, the many objects. So, Andali Radhakund is very rarely attained. In other words, if you go, today you go to Radhakund and you're there, but you can't see it with your material eyes. One of our godbrothers, Hayagriva, wrote a book called Vrindavan Days. He wrote 2 books, The Hare Krishna Explosion and Vrindavan Days. And it was his visit to Vrindavan in the 80s. And in this book he said when he first got there he was shocked because the covering of Vrindavan is very heavy too. You know, the open sewers, the mangy growling dogs and the pigs and the the mafia type guys slinking around. And so he went to Prabhupada to say that because this isn't what I get when I read Krishna book. This isn't the Vrindavan. This is horrible. And Prabhupada was furious. He said, you can't see Vrindavan with these material eyes, with material nose, ears, etc. You can't. That's not Vrindavan. And even Prabhupada didn't like that he was criticizing the covering of Vrindavan. You know, what prevents us from entering, if we're too materially affected, then we can't really enter into the spirit of Vrindavan. What you do, devotees who have stayed in Vrindavan, like we have godbrothers and godsisters, like the oldest one now, who's been in Vrindavan the most since 1974, is Devi Shakti. Devi Dasi, you know? Devi Shakti. Yeah, she's a saint. Anyway, she's been there since 74. And if you see her memories, Siddhanta's memory series, she's just like full of Prabhupada praying. And she can give you a guided tour of anywhere in the place. And Dinabandhu also in 1975, he gives the tours around Govardhan. So right now he's giving tours of Vrindakund. Yeah.
So he takes on the tours and he usually says, no, that all the givers are gone. It's all takers now left.
The givers are gone?
Yashoda or Kirtida.
Like they were all givers of love, no?
So
They are all
people,
gone, like now only the takers are left out.
so the people just want to come and take and
Money.
get benefits for themselves. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but by what my point was, people like Devi Shakti and Dina Bandhu, they've been there winter, summer, fall. You know, Vrindavan's climate is tough. It's very hot, it's very cold, and very, you know, harsh conditions materially, but they stuck it out all these years. And so that means they have real, you know, love for Prabhupada. Because he wanted some people to stay there and develop it and help the devotees who visit, and they did. So, okay,
Can have
you ready to finish? Okay, thanks for coming. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Prabhupada. I just want to see his, yeah, I love that shot at that one. Yeah, it does look different on the screen here. There you go.
we have